You guys, so Garrett is dressed. I don't know. Weston, show him how Garrett is dressed today. This is absurd. Like we're starting the show, I look over and this is what I see.
He's got the
Ducks
white
Unlimited.
Ford Bronco, like O.J. Simpson status.
I have a whole opening thing I have to do, and I look over there, and you're wearing that.
It's a Ford Bronco shirt.
Oh,
Stands the
my
test of time.
word.
And a bucket hat.
Broncos are classic. I will give him that.
Yeah, Broncos are cool. Have either of you driven the new Bronco?
No, I've been in one for a short drive, and it was pretty cool.
Really?
Yeah, they look good.
Yeah, they do look
good.
really good. Yeah, they look good. Supposedly safety's not good. That's what Kelly always tells me. I bet she's lying.
Do they roll?
Supposedly.
Yeah. But either way, you look good
Yeah,
as
who
you're
cares?
rolling.
That's all that matters.
You're going to die at some point. That's all that matters. Hey, today's show is brought to you by Black Desert. Sorry, everyone. My word. Black Desert is committed to one thing above all, fostering an endlessly fun and fascinating resort community without any pretense that puts the remarkable within reach. Home to a PGA FedEx Cup and LPGA event, Black Desert offers world-class golf, hospitality, dining, shopping, and recreating in a stunning 600-acre canvas in the heart of Greater Zion and southern Utah. More info at blackdesertevents.com. That's blackdesertevents.com. Trevor Maddux is here.
He is co-founder of MotionOps and a big golfer. Have you played Black Desert yet?
I have not played Black Desert yet.
Have you ever played Entrada?
I have played Entrada, and I have a 10-year-old son who loves golf, and he keeps saying, let's go play Black Desert. So
That's cool.
I keep reminding him, I'm like, I don't think you realize how expensive it is to go out there, but, maybe sometime we will go. So
Yeah.
he's a big golfer.
Yeah, it is a very expensive, very exclusive resort. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's actually beautiful what they've done with it.
It looks amazing.
And they've incorporated Entrada, right? So you kind of have.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of.
But I think it's very moderately priced for the experience and the golf you get there. You could spend a lot more at other comparable resorts across America. Just like we're lucky to have really affordable golf, whether it's like public or private courses.
It is officially a PGA quality course.
Yeah. It'll be fun.
Is that this year or next year?
This year for both LPGA and PGA.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
First one in Utah ever?
For
I think we had
60,
it in the past.
70 years.
Yeah. I think, was it Willow Creek used to have one way back in the day?
That's web.com or like
that was
Corn Ferry.
web.com. Yeah.
But there was a Utah Open where Ben Hogan and some of these others played.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. I know a little bit about MotionOps because you shared the pitch deck with me like a year ago. But what do y'all do? Where did the idea come from, and what service are you providing these contractors?
Yeah, that's great. So MotionOps, easy way to describe what we do is if you're to think of Salesforce for contractors or service contractors, that's what we do. We call it a vertical operating system. So everything that you need to run your business, we are the software to do that. If you are a plumber, electrician, HVAC, remodeler, handyman, we don't necessarily do like new home build type of construction, but more like the service and other types of construction, even like landscapers will use our stuff. We get some cleaners that use our stuff, but yeah, everything that you need to run your business in one place is basically what we do. So we do like proposals, scheduling, invoicing, payment processing. All in one spot. So it's fun.
And most of us have dealt with contractors, whether plumbers, HVAC, or remodelers. A lot of paper.
Yeah. Pen and paper.
And a lot
old
of
school
phone calls. Ultimately, most people are mad when it's over budget and doesn't meet timelines, right? And I assume that the contractors are frustrated as well.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely one of the pain points in construction is if things are over budget, if things go past timelines, the realistic expectation, the reality of the logistics when it comes to construction is, there's a lot of timing issues, meaning sometimes you're holding up someone selling their house or someone moving into house or someone, having other contractors come in. And so timelines are definitely very important. Budget's another thing too. It's really interesting with construction. Anyone that's ever looking to get construction done, just my best advice is always plan on having a reserve, an extra 20 to 40%, because there are hiccups, there are change orders, there's things that happen. I just think a lot of people may or may not be aware of that. It does happen with construction, but our software helps with some of that, not all of it, right? Like we can help streamline scheduling for sure with contractors. I hate to say it, but a lot of contractors, they run their scheduling on literally just whiteboards or pieces of paper, right? We help keep that more streamlined, more organized, and eventually we're going to create like alerts that alert contractors of potential issues with scheduling. Like, so if a snag hits right now, what does that look like 2 or 3 months down the road? Like those are all things that we're working on developing for contractors. And then staying on budget as well. We do help a little bit with that because we have a streamlined process of getting estimates out to customers. Customers can see those proposals and estimates. And then what happens is changes happen in jobs and job scope. There's a lot of he said, she said. We actually create a centralized place where not only contractors but customers can actually see, okay, here's what the beginning price was, here's all the changes, and then here's the resultant prices. And we're one of the few softwares that actually manages that change order process for clients and customers, along with documentation. So one of the issues is with contractors in this working experience, it's just a lot of like verbal communication. Even our competitors do. They don't even have much paperwork. We actually have a full documentation paperwork process where contractors will go through signatures for approvals, and you have it all in one central place where you can see not only the beginning price, but all the change orders and, obviously all the signatures and everything that went along with that as well too. So everyone can be on the same page. There's no he said, she said by the end of the job. And it obviously helps with communication for the customer so they understand what's happening, right? But it also helps keep the contractor more organized so they're happier. Their customers are happier. It's happier for everyone. And the other thing that's really cool about what we do is we actually have a dashboard where it shows what the total project is, what's estimated, and what's been invoiced out against those estimates, and just keep them organized that way, because unfortunately sometimes contractors don't even remember how much they've charged customers. So yeah.
How's it going? Like, how long have you been doing this?
So I've been in construction on and off like my whole life. My dad's a GC out of California.
Oh, okay.
So, like there's always these stories about contractors and, using their kids for forced child labor. That was kind of me.
Yeah, cool.
3 years old, he was making me climb up in rafters, run some wire for him and all that stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, most recently about 5-6 years ago, maybe 7 now, we started a handyman business. And so we kind of started it out of our own pain, and really been building MotionOps for a little over a couple years, 2.5 years now. And it's good. I mean, we launched our alpha version end of last summer, and we just launched beta a couple months ago, and now we're on beta and getting our product out to customers. So that's good.
And you've raised money?
Yeah. So back in August, we were looking for a pre-seed. We self-funded as much as we could. Me and my co-founder, depending on how you want to measure it, we're probably about 800 or 900K deep into it. And so put in as much as we could, and sooner or later, like with most startups, you got to start raising, especially when it comes to software. And so last summer we raised a pre-seed. We're looking for $1 million. We oversubscribed, got $1 million, 1.2 million. And yeah, aside from that, we'll probably go raise again later this year. It's just doing all the rounds. We were fortunate enough. We actually just got a grant from the World Bank and European Union.
Really?
Yeah. Just my co-founder's in Europe, so we get to tap into a lot of the really cool programs over there that don't really exist here anymore. And so we got a grant, non-equity, non-recourse for $350K. And so for us to unlock those funds, though, they want to make sure it's an investable idea. So they're basically having us go raise. We're just raising a small little round right now, an extra $350K to go release those funds. And so yeah, it's fun. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's actually way cool.
Yeah.
Little startup hack, having a co-founder in Europe.
It is a startup hack. It's funny and it's kind of interesting. So when we started raising last year, obviously we met with some VCs, met with some angels, and I enjoy those conversations. You never know what to expect out of them. And we had a handful of VCs that are like, we can't believe you're trying to start a company with some guys out of Europe, blah, 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 blah. Like, this is a bad idea. What's really interesting, though, is more recently in the last 3 to 4 months, we're getting a lot of validation that, like, the way we're building it's kind of the way a lot of companies are looking at it right now. In fact, I've had a few more like Series A VCs reach out. And they're like, dude, we're seeing this huge wave of companies where it's set up the way that you guys are right now, where a lot of the tech and operations are out of India or like Eastern Europe or whatever, and then all the sales and marketing just out of the US, because there's a lot of competitive advantages as far as like cost structure, overhead, quality of work, our people. So we're in Utah and Serbia, but like our people in Serbia, they're just so hungry, man. Like they just want the opportunities, which is amazing. And even being able to get access to these grants, like, I don't know if you guys remember, but like 10, 20 years ago, there used to be a lot of grants here in the US, even here in Utah. And now it's like hard to find them. You know what I mean? they still have a lot over there, and they're really trying to do a lot to foster the startup community, which is really cool. So
why did you land on Serbia? How did that happen?
it's a really long and funny story. So, and for me, like I'm not a developer, but I know a little about it. I coded a little in high school, a little in college, so I know enough to kind of be aware of what's happening. And so, what had happened? So it's not MotionOps, but my handyman company that we've had and been growing and is scaling right now. I noticed a deficiency for good software, so I realized, hey, we need to go build. And so I was talking with some guys out of Park City that were looking at maybe investing. And anyway, nothing happened. I ended up self-funding the whole thing. But the one good thing that came out of that connection is I was saying, hey, I need to go find like a really good CTO or dev shop to help me. I got a bunch of ideas what we can do in construction. And they're like, hey, like, I heard about these guys out of Serbia. They're really good. Like, the CTO out of LA says they're awesome. And, oh, by the way, he's in Park City here, like, in the next few weeks. It's like, okay, cool. I'm meeting with him, right? And so met with him. We struck up a relationship. And this is like 5-6 years ago. So his name's Nikola. He's my co-founder. Everyone in Serbia is named Nikola.
Really?
Noticed. Yeah.
That's cool.
I'm just kidding. It's like, it's a
Nikola
large...
Tesla.
Yeah, a large population. I mean, yeah, in the NBA, there's like 3 of them right now. 2 currently, one going to be drafted.
Best player in the league is
Nikola Jokic, and then there's Nikola Jovic, and then Nikola Topic is going to be drafted this year. There's going to be 3 Nikolas in the NBA, all from Serbia soon. So,
Nice.
Anyway, so his name's Nikola. I met him, and we hit it off. I'm like, dude, you're great. Like they'd won like some European Olympics of development and everything else, like just really top notch. And I've been around, again, enough development shops to realize like, hey, these guys really know their stuff. And, in my head, I'm like, hey, like I could stick with some of the guys I know here in Utah, or I could go to Serbia, and it's just way lower cost, like way lower overhead, and probably better quality in a lot of ways. And so we started a relationship, and at first it was just like, we're doing the handyman thing, and I'm like, hey, I didn't like the software for the space. I'm like, we just kind of need to build around what we need. And that's kind of how it started. Like, it was more of just, business owner, company, and dev shop, and that was basically the extent of it. And we got a couple years into just building stuff because there was just a huge lack for the space. And so what happened is Nikola, 2 years into it, he's like, hey, have you asked yourself, is it just you or the whole industry that's frustrated with the software? And I was like, well, that's a pretty important question. I should have probably asked that a couple of years ago before we started building all this for us. And so at that point, it's kind of interesting, but I reached out to like 10, 15 business owners I knew in the space, and we did like very in-depth interviews of like an hour to hour and a half, like, hey, what's your business? What's your workflow? Like really big, like discovery interviews, like the way you should before you go launch into a product, or you're supposed to. And so, after all those interviews, we validated that most people were just not happy at all with what was out there. And from that moment, that's kind of where MotionOps was birthed. But I think the key thing for us is Nikola and I already worked together for over 2 years and had a lot of trust before we launched, right? And that's why I feel like our relationship works so well, is we already had a pretty good relationship before we even launched with what we're doing. So, yeah.
That's cool.
Always helpful. Speaking of Intercontinental, WrestleMania was this weekend.
Oh my God. Ooh, did you see that transition?
And there was an Intercontinental.
Serbia to WrestleMania, dude. There's so many similarities there.
He said, speaking of Intercontinental, and then he started talking about WrestleMania.
Well, WrestleMania is, the world's most favorite sport ahead of soccer,
Oh,
right?
it was amazing.
Is it
The
really?
pageantry,
No.
Oh, I was going to say. I was like,
the
what?
showmanship. But the Intercontinental belt went to Sami Zayn. He finally beat Gunther,
What are you talking about?
the ring general.
We were talking about
WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia, 172,000 people. It was amazing.
I didn't watch it, but from what I know from the news, WrestleMania had a huge event, and it's the most watched WrestleMania event of all time,
Yeah.
which is pretty impressive.
Huh.
Okay. I mean, I think you follow WrestleMania way more than I do, right?
Probably.
But The Rock's back in the mix now, which is kind of
Ooh,
interesting.
yes.
So I think there's been some changes with WWE.
Yeah.
Is that what they call themselves now? They've changed their names a few times.
It was magical.
The Rock is like on the board, so he's
He
going to
is.
be
He calls himself the final boss now.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, Vince McMahon kind of got ousted because of
He
interesting
calls
stuff.
himself the final boss now.
So the Rock and Roman Reigns fought Seth freaking Rollins and the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes on Saturday night,
Okay.
and it was a match for the ages. And
It's bringing the Rock back. It's like bringing Michael Jordan with the Wizards, right?
big
like,
deal. Big deal.
Yeah.
The Rock's like whipping people with his belt. It was amazing, but it set up a bloodline feud with Cody Rhodes and the Roman Reigns on Sunday night.
Interesting.
And the People's Champion, the American Nightmare, pulled off a huge upset, became the Universal WWE Champion.
So
Just 2 magical nights. Snoop was there doing commentary.
yeah, I saw Snoop was there too.
Oh, it was so good.
So let me ask you this, Garrett, because I think you again follow it way more than I do. I mean, I think it used to be WWF back in the day when it was like the heyday with like Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior. Yeah, those guys, right?
Yep.
Great. Was it the Gravedigger? I always forget his name.
Undertaker. And he was there
Undertaker.
on Sunday night.
Gravedigger's Monster Truck. So
Yeah.
Undertaker was there too.
He's the one that he came out of nowhere. The lights turned out. Undertaker came out, and The Rock got scared, and the Undertaker smashed into the
No way.
mat. Oh,
Okay.
It was awesome.
So maybe like this whole Vince McMahon transition could be a pretty big thing if The Rock's getting back in the mix, right? So
Yep. Yeah.
I think it could be interesting. I mean, The Rock's got a lot of firepower, and
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
You guys understand
So-
this is for 8-year-old boys.
It is not. Next time they're in town, we're going.
No, we're not.
Yeah. You're going to love every minute of it.
You know that this is scripted out. Like you're explaining, like, oh, this person came out. You would have never believed the lights went out. That's all time. That's all rehearsed.
Well, up for debate. And if it is, it's
It's
a
not up
magical
for-
rehearsal. Magical. The whole night was just amazing.
You know, a really interesting thing in sports, in real sports, NCAA women beat men in finals ratings for the first time.
That was pretty amazing.
Isn't that crazy?
I loved it. And I got to be honest, I watched, both Final Fours, men's and women's.
Yeah.
Women's was just way more entertaining than men's.
Oh my word.
Like it was
so much better.
Unreal.
I was blown away.
Yeah.
You would have never caught me ever thinking that was possible. But
I mean,
Caitlin Clark
if you had
was
talked to me
incredible.
2 years ago saying that would happen, I wouldn't believe you.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I've been following Caitlin personally probably now for a couple of years. I started hearing about her, and first few times I watched her, I'm like, she's legit, and
she's so good.
I don't get this with a lot of athletes, but she is one of those athletes where if she is on TV, I'll stop what I'm doing. Like I'll drop it just to like focus and watch her because she is that good.
Her opening first quarter, dropping 18 was incredible. Mom, this could be something really special. But man, South Carolina was like so big and crazy.
They were just too big. Like
yeah,
it was
that was
tough.
hard.
I mean, Caitlin's amazing, but it's hard to go up against that size and win. The one thing that I thought was pretty amazing that I don't know if I've ever seen, I could be wrong, but when they played UConn, in the game before the championship, UConn was guarding her all 94 feet of the court the entire game. I don't think I've ever seen that before in college, pros, high school, and I've watched a lot of ball. I don't think I've ever seen that before. And so for me, that just shows the amount of respect that she commands on the court to have to guard her all 94 feet of the court the entire game. So,
Interestingly, she's getting a lot of hate from WNBA players saying like, oh, it's easy playing in college. Wait till you get up here. It's like no one's ever watched the WNBA ever. Like we're all going to watch it for the first time because of her. Like you should be embracing.
Yeah. I think it's unfortunate. She's a generational talent. I don't know what would be the root of that. Maybe it's just jealousy or who knows, right?
I've never seen 2 minutes of a WNBA game. I promise you I will watch Caitlin Clark.
I will watch
WNBA
Caitlin
games.
Clark for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got Mike Trout that's wearing her jersey right now, right?
Yeah,
Like,
she's a phenomenon.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch her go to the next level and see what she can do. And, and what's interesting too, and I don't know if this is a case or not, but I have heard from other people that follow sports, and they say just specifically college basketball, women's sports, it seems like there's a skill level that it's getting to where it's becoming a lot more, entertaining, and stars are just they're starting to see stars, which is awesome. And I think you are seeing a shift where women's sports specifically in college, is getting a lot more watched, and it'll just be fun to see if that trend continues. So
You know what's interesting is I was watching the difference between the two. Women pass; they make the right passes,
yeah,
and men force shots. That is like the key difference. Like it's like
yeah,
really, really smooth, fun basketball.
yeah. I would agree. It's a lot more high skill, and I think when I was mentioning the skill levels changed with women's, I think they're starting to go deeper with threes, so that's pretty fun to watch,
Yeah.
right? And it's so it's funny, but so my brother-in-law is Ben Criddle with BYU Sports, right? And so
Oh, really?
yeah, we're in BYU country right here, right? So I was talking with him. We're watching a lot of the Caitlin Clark stuff. We're down in Vegas for a family thing. We're talking about Caitlin Clark and how amazing she is, and we got into this pretty funny debate. He's like, "Yeah, man, I'm like texting all these former BYU sports athletes, and they're like, oh, I would dominate her in basketball, blah 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 blah." And I'm like, dude, there's no way. Like, just because you're good at football, like you're not going to be able to hang with one of the best female athletes for college basketball right now. I mean, she is.
She's awesome.
Yeah, so highly
That'd be
skilled.
awesome.
The passing's amazing, and her specifically, like her vision, like it is unreal. Like I don't see how she gets some of those passes into where she does, when she does, how she does. Like,
Oh, it's incredible.
it's like she's literally seeing the floor like 2 steps ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, because she's
So,
got like the Steph game,
Yep.
the shooting and all of that type of stuff. But then she's got this incredible floor vision and her ability to pass. I mean,
I'd say her passing's probably even a little better
she
than Steph's. Which
she
is,
led. Oh,
yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
She led the NCAA in scoring, but she also led it in assists.
unreal.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I heard in the Spanish Fork League, there's a player by the name of Clint you have to guard 94 feet as well. Is that true or not?
Well, if you could guard me at 94 feet at about 80 feet, I will stop and just kind of stand there
Cherry
and
pick?
breathe really hard.
You're averaging 30 points a game.
Not quite.
You just yell, cherry picking.
I'm like, guys, you do this possession without me. This is a little bit too much.
Keep the garbage can.
Last time I played, I threw up 3 times.
Yeah. Not
Just to
surprised.
give you a sense. That's not a lie. That actually happened.
Oh, I believe it.
Hey, another kind of interesting story, sports story. The Coyotes, they're trying to build a new stadium down there, and they put out some renderings and things like that. But now Scottsdale's mayor has said this is not feasible or welcome
Wow,
for the proposed Coyotes development.
that's interesting.
And so it's technically in Phoenix, but it kind of borders Scottsdale, which is obviously right next to Phoenix. And so that probably increases the chances of them coming to Utah dramatically.
The door's open.
And the
I
NHL
would
is
love
actually
that.
doing 2 different schedules, one where they stay in Phoenix and one where they come to Utah.
Wow.
So that is how close we are to that.
Yeah.
I would love to see that. So I have a buddy down in Phoenix, and he has season tickets. I don't know if he does this year, but last year at least he had season tickets to the Coyotes games. And I was like, yeah, how is that, man? He's like, it's weird. Like, because I think from what he said, they're playing at like some local college or university. Like, it's not even their own stadium.
Yeah. It's like
Which,
a 5,000-6,000
yeah.
seat stadium. I think.
Yeah. He's like, I feel like I'm going to a high school game and I'm paying like, these season ticket prices for these games. And it's just, I don't know. If you're a pro team, like how long can you really just roll with that before you're like, it's time to push eject and go somewhere else?
Yeah, so it seems like our boy Ryan might own 3 actually, because he owns RSL pro teams by next year, and the Delta Center is not exactly set up actually for an NHL team. You kind of have to cut a lot of seating in order to make it work.
Interesting.
It's not wide enough, and so there may be some like remodeling things that needs to happen there at the Delta Center long term, or relocation, or a whole new everything.
Yep.
To make this work, but we could certainly host them and just cut back the seating for a few years.
Absolutely.
And
Bring on the NHL, baby.
my
I would love
sense
it.
is they will not be called the Coyotes. My sense is there will be a rebrand.
Yeah. On that note, I have 2 names to offer up. The Tatonkas. The Utah
That's
Tatankas.
isn't that like a WWE name or something?
No, it's
This is WWE. Oh, you're gonna see the WrestleMania as one of the names.
it's Buffalo, right? If you remember
Okay.
that Kevin Costner movie, Dances with
Tatanka?
Wolves,
Okay.
Tatanka, and the Comanches.
Comanches.
What are your guys' options for rename, rebrand?
I think
I got no
every
idea.
team should be called the Pioneers until it's taken.
That's a good one too.
So
Pioneers would be great. A lot of Utah heritage and history with that, right?
My
So-
personal preference is that the baseball team is called the Pioneers. If that happens, then I would do Cutthroats for the NHL team
That's
because
a good one too.
we got great cutthroat fish here in
Yeah.
Utah.
And the team could cut your throat with amazing play.
Yeah, they probably won't. In this PC environment, they probably won't let us call it Cutthroats.
But the cutthroat's a beautiful fish. Trevor, what do you got?
Fantastic.
I can't think of anything right now. I'm sure Ryan will come up with a great name if we do land a team, though.
You don't want the
So,
Utah MotionOps?
Yeah, there you go. Done. Utah MotionOps.
Heck yeah.
Rebranding.
I do think that there is the one that's rolling around a lot is Yetis.
We don't have any Yetis here that I know of.
Yetis would be cool. You could have a pretty cool mascot.
Yeah.
With a Yeti.
Yeah, Yetis is being thrown around. There was another one that I heard. I can't remember, but I don't care. Actually, if they're called the Coyotes, I think that's cool.
Yeah, Coyotes are.
I wouldn't mind
amazing animal.
Coyotes. Coyotes would still be cool.
Yeah.
So.
Somebody's
But
gonna get it.
yeah, I think we got to rebrand here, and it's looking more and more likely that we're going to get an NHL team as soon as next season.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
So what would the logic behind a rebrand be?
I personally think you should always do it. If you move the team, now this is somebody who loves the Jazz brand, and I'm super grateful that somehow we stole the Jazz
Yeah.
from the birthplace of jazz in New Orleans. But if you move the team, you should rebrand it. That's my personal,
It's fun.
yeah.
And it
New
gets a
start,
lot of
new
people
name,
paid.
right?
Yeah.
New start, new name. Now we have a lot of teams who've not done that. You got the Lakers who, they were named after the lakes in Minneapolis
Yep.
and then moved to
Jazz.
LA.
The-
There's tons of
The one team I want to see them bring back, though, is the Supersonics. That needs to happen.
yeah, and I actually thought that was really cool of the Thunder to rebrand rather than call it the Supersonics. That would have been weird to have Oklahoma City Supersonics.
Yeah.
I don't like the Thunder name at all, but and I'm glad that they did it because now it leaves that open because Seattle will definitely get an NBA team back and it'll definitely be called the Supersonics.
They deserve a team, and it would have to be the Supersonics.
Oh.
There's no other name you could name it.
Absolutely. You know who screwed that is the Starbucks CEO, Howard Schultz.
Really?
Yeah.
How'd that happen?
Like somehow he was like an owner of the team or something like that and like wasn't willing to put up the money for it always comes down to stadiums and this crap.
Right?
Always.
Like, oh, we want it, we don't want it, and politicians, right?
And then like some mayor, like Scottsdale's mayor. Scottsdale's not a big city. Like they basically decide like no, can't do it.
I don't even know though. I mean, because did you say the stadium's gonna be in Phoenix? But
It just
it's
borders
borders
Scottsdale.
Scottsdale, so they're
Yeah.
gonna try to claim some domain, even though it's not really
Yeah.
in their area.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably because
Scottsdale's it's like the golf capital of the world, right?
Yeah.
That's what Scottsdale is. So it's a very kind of upscale.
upscale,
They probably
bougie.
don't
They
care
don't
about
want the
that
extra
stuff.
foot traffic.
Yeah.
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 Which is fair.
All we want to do is have fun and watch sports. Like we don't care about the stadiums. Just figure it out, everyone.
Yep.
But the state is all supportive. So our mayor is great with an NHL team. Our governor is great with an NHL team. I believe they even passed some legislation this past session that even gave it some money.
Yeah.
Another story that you probably put in the docket today is 30 pounds of meth was found in a vehicle pulled over for speeding in southern Utah.
I did not. But those show up almost every day.
What did you have to say? What do you have to say for yourself?
I did not put that in.
Was it in a Bronco?
It's-
I just need to know if it's found in a Bronco.
It was me in a Bronco. I posted
Of
bail.
course it was you. Look how you're dressed.
I posted bail. I'll be going back possibly last show.
Oh my
This was not
gosh.
me. Not me.
It's a lot of meth.
Yeah. Good job, Highway Patrol.
Hey, and there was some story about some politician who was, here it is. So this is from Lindsay on air. She's a reporter at KSL 5. A candidate for state senate in Spanish Fork
Oh, gosh. Just get it together, Spanish
is
Forkians.
facing 2 charges after he allegedly tried to gather signatures on USPS property in Salem and wouldn't move to the sidewalk and then got in a struggle with officers.
Wow.
That's your home post office, is it not?
Well, the Salem one isn't. I don't know what he was doing in Salem if he's a state. Well, maybe it's
a pretty
That's part of it,
aggressive signature gatherer.
It's like, I'm not moving to the sidewalk. Screw you. And then he starts fighting the officers.
It's a good place to get signatures.
I
and
need more
arrested.
signatures.
He is going to win this election.
That's how they do it in Spanish Fork.
He sounds
They're just
determined.
be like, yeah, dude, that's so cool. That's our guy.
The cousins were the ones arresting him. Just a revolving door.
So the guy's name is Michael Cook, Senate District 25. Make sure you go out and vote for him this election season.
Or you're
See on
going to
your-
get punched.
Is he on your basketball team, Clint?
No, I've never heard of him. I've never seen this guy. Looks way
Sounds
cool.
like you're gonna. I have a couple more questions about MotionOps.
Yeah.
Contractors are going to be your bread and butter, right?
Yeah.
Probably an interesting group to sell into.
Yeah.
How do you go about doing that?
It's a good question. So we definitely attack it from a few different angles and directions. So and one thing that we're always trying to do is just experiment with new things. Keep the things that are working, experiment with new things, and just keep adding. Right. So we found a few different ways to be successful, and we knew going into it that the customer acquisition would be one of the more interesting aspects of how to go grow the business. So one way that we do it is we do events. So there's local events, local meetups of contractors. Like, what's really interesting is when you meet them face to face, they're pretty interested to chat and meet and everything else. It's that one-to-one interaction. We also had a large event down in Vegas. It's called KBIS. It's the largest kitchen and bath show in the country. People are there from all over the world. We met some potential clients from like Australia, Hawaii, Cayman Islands of all places.
Oh, cool.
So events. We also do a bunch of stuff on social media. A lot of the guys in the trades hang out in groups and stuff like that in social media. We have a self-sign-up and Facebook process that seems to be doing pretty well right now. So Facebook ads are actually looking like really good. And then we also do the old school like BDR thing where we've got sales guys just calling out and getting a hold of contractors, scheduling demos and all that stuff. So we're definitely attacking it from quite a few different directions. We'll be looking at channel partnerships too as we scale and grow. We built a payment processing facility, and so there's some really big, which is kind of a pain for us to do. Most of our competitors, they actually just do like the Stripe integration, but there's not as much margin in that. So we actually built our own PayFac, and so because of that, there's some really cool channel partners we can work with where they'll take a rip for doing it, but then as they do it, like we get the subscription fee kind of at like no acquisition costs on our end. So yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Lots of fun ways to go to market.
Well,
So.
Best of luck, man. Thanks for coming on. Seriously,
Yeah.
like this is really cool. Would you ever wear a bucket hat?
You know what? I do wear bucket hats. So we were talking, Garrett and I were talking, I'm a former golfer, still golf quite a bit, but yeah, bucket hats just come with golf, right? So it's a good
That's
time.
true. You know what? I've come around on the outfit.
Yeah. Thank you.
To end the show, I've come around with it.
You always trust someone.
Thanks,
with a bucket
guys.
hat.
All right. Well, we'll see everybody tomorrow. Who do we have tomorrow, Garrett?
Carson Poppinger, founder and president of Squeeze.
Very
Gonna be
cool.
another good one.
Carson, we'll see you tomorrow.